Welcome. It's going to be a great day.
Welcome everyone. My name is Howard Simpson. I'm a cartoonist, and you can follow me on my blog on creating comics at www.justcreate.net and on Instagram at Abba Studios. I will be doing a demo drawing Neko Cat with ArtRage and the X Pen Innovator 16 display tablet. So let's get started. I'll be drawing my interpretation of Neko today. So let's get some reference first. So here's Neko here. And Neko is a ghost cat. I'm not sure whether it's male or female. I won't be drawing a little bag. So just Neko by itself. And since Neko seems to have a flowing robe or ghost robe, get some reference for that. It's always best to start with reference. Start from reality and go to abstraction. So I figured some wedding gowns would be good for that. And let me move everything in place so that I can see all of the reference while I'm drawing. So I usually start with a pencil sketch to build a foundation and to make sure everything is structured right. So I use guidelines to indicate the placement of all the parts. And I know there are artists who just start right in with painting and do that, so I haven't gotten to that stage yet. Well, not that I haven't gotten to that stage, I just haven't done it. I've trained most of my life to start with sketches, so just start right in with paint is very new to me. So the purpose of the sketch is to get rid of that blank page, because that blank canvas is so intimidating, whether it's in real life or on a computer screen. So I just want to get something on it. Another way is to do some thumbnail sketches, and then you have an idea of what you're about to do. Okay, right now I'm creating some layers, or I did create some layers that I'll be using later, and here's my background layer. So I'm using the palette knife to put that in really quickly. Not the palette knife, I'm sorry. I'm using a large brush to put that in very quickly. After I get all this color laid down, then I will use the palette knife to blend everything together. So this is the large paintbrush. And if you look on the left, you'll see the tool that I'm using is highlighted in purple. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm using a palette knife, and while I'm using a tool, you can't really see what tool I'm using, but briefly you'll see an icon for the tool. So I'll try to keep that up so that you can see that also as a way of telling what tool that I'm using to do. So this is going to be my night sky. And I add a lot of different colors, so it's not just a flat black or a flat blue. It makes it more interesting. Okay, now I'm using the oil paint brush to block in the base color for my character. And in this case, it's pretty good since it's white, and I'm not using a pure white. This is going to be the base color I usually choose is a medium color between the highlights and the shadows that I plan to use. Okay, so I have my reference back up, and as you can see, it's already looking a little different from the reference. Again, this is my own interpretation, so I'm drawing it somewhat realistically by using the paint. And And so I just splashed some paint on, and now I'm erasing what I don't need to define the shape more. I mean, there's another way. I could have used stencils or to create the shape and not drawn outside the lines. But this is the way I most often use. ArtRage does have stencils. They don't have mask, so you can use stencils to protect your drawing and keep it within a certain area. Okay, so now I'm quickly putting in some highlights, and then I'm smoothing them out with the palette knife. And I'm using the eyedropper to pick up some color from my base color. And I changed the color a little bit, made it a little bit brighter. And now I'm putting in some strokes for the fur. And this is close to the highlight color. So I want the fur to go with the stroke of the tail. And I'm using the palette knife there, because what I did wasn't very good with the strokes with the fur. And I'm going inside and using a darker color to indicate the furry strokes of the cat, because I don't want it to be just all flat. I want to indicate the fur in some kind of way. And while I'm doing that, I'm having the fur define the shapes. So I'm not just randomly putting fur in. So I'm also using the fur to kind of help form the dimension of the cat, so it looks dimensional and not flat. So always think about form and structure. That will help you avoid flatness in your drawings and your paintings, your illustrations. So I like to build up the whole illustration at once. And I did a kind of check there to see how well I'm coming along without the pencil lines, because at some point I'm going to lose the pencil lines, because I will have built up enough of the structure with the paint. So starting with the eyes here, big green eyeballs, and they look kind of gray-green, but I made mine just a nice light green, kind of more on the khaki side of green. Now here I'm putting in the base color for the eye, and the pupil and the iris. And I'm not a purist, so even though I started with the oil brush, I'm using the airbrush here. You know, I'm going to use whatever I need to get the job done. You know, I don't have to do this whole thing with an oil brush. So if I have to use an ink pen, airbrush, pastel, you know, wherever I'm going to use it. And I don't feel, you know, restricted in that way. I draw in the style that I want, or the style that fits whatever my client wants. Now, well, sometimes what the client wants, gotta do some licensing work also, or in a style that best fits whatever type of story I'm trying to tell. So here I'm putting in the reflection, a reflected light. And I want the center to be darker. So I'm doing that on another layer. So I've used 3 layers for this so far. And what I do is I add layers so I have a good separation and more control over what I'm drawing, and everything's isolated. And then once I'm happy with that, I merge it down as I just did there. And I'm naming this my eyeball layer, and I'm making a copy because there's no sense in doing this twice. So I always want to work efficiently. And even though I'm using traditional tools such as airbrush or oil paint, I do want to take advantage of the fact that I have these are digital equivalent of analog tools. So I've distorted that left eye so it looks like it's in the proper perspective, and add in a bright highlight on the eye. Try to stay zoomed out so I don't work too hard on something that I've magnified. But in this case, I need to go in because this is so small. That highlight is so small, it's hard to navigate. Meaning when I wanted to rotate it, it was harder to do at the original size. So I zoomed in so I could do that. So you see there, it's still a little too small because I wanted to move it, but instead it's stretched. So I just had to be a little bit careful so I can move it without distorting it. Okay, so I'm touching up each eye individually. So that looks pretty good. Nice big bright eyes for a nice little cute cat. Cute little ghost cat. So the challenge here is to make it look ghostly. I was trying to avoid the easy transparent look. So that's my challenge to myself here. So again, this is too small for me to transform this, and I'm using a transform tool to rotate and move this because that bottom highlight is at the wrong angle, not where I want it to be. So I'm going to move it and adjust it so it looks proper to me. And this is the advantage of putting this on its own separate layer, because I can do this and it's not locked down on paint. So because I've done it this way, I have maximum flexibility. And here I'm trying to rotate. And when these things are so small, it's hard to get that rotation icon to appear so I know I'm ready to rotate. Okay, so these are a little bright. I don't want that because they're a secondary highlight or reflected highlight. So I changed the opacity to bring that down a little bit, and now it looks better. Okay, add in a new layer. So I can start with other parts of the eye. So I guess cats have eyelashes, or discoloring, I'm not quite sure. But in any case, it's the darker portion that defines the exterior of the eye. And I try not to go to solid black when I'm doing illustrations in a painterly way. I do use solid black when I'm doing more graphic type of work. Now again, using a transform tool to adjust the position of the eyes, because I want those corners to go right into the little nose that the little kitty cat has. And that looks much better. Of course, I could have broadened the nose, but then it would have lost that little kitten look that I'm going for. And here I want to darken the eyeball. I thought that would make it more cute, but it doesn't. So what I thought would work isn't working. Okay, now defining the shadows on the face. And I want that to look like it's in the eye socket. So that's why I'm doing darker around there. And give a little hint of shadow. And I'm using the palette knife to soften that black. And adding colors. Again, I tried to add a few different colors. Again, this helps avoid that flat look by mixing some colors together. So now using the palette knife to smooth those out. And now I'm starting to get that little ghostly look that I want. So it's already going in a good direction. I'm going to do the same with the little curl up top. And actually I should have done this while I was laying down the colors. So the colors would have been exact. But you know, that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly what I used in the face. That's something close. So again, a check to see how it's holding up without the sketch lines. Because I want this look to go throughout the body, through the tail. Well, the body is mostly the cloak, the ghostly cloak that Neko is wearing. I hope Neko is the right pronunciation. It's either Neko or Neko, but since there's two E's in it, I'm going to go with Neko. And starting on the ghostly robe, ghostly cloak, so many things I can call this. So using my reference as a guidance for how I indicate the folds in the cloak. And again, as you see, I'm using colors on top of color. And using my palette knife to blend those colors together. And I'm using the oil brush to go in and define the edges. This is one thing that a lot of amateurs make a mistake with, is that they have soft edges on both sides, and that doesn't help make it look realistic. So what you want to do is have a hard edge and a soft edge, and this helps you define the forms and the shapes. Okay, so now I'm checking and deciding whether I need the sketch lines anymore, and I have decided that I don't, that I can move forward and just concentrate on the painting. I've got enough information here that I can continue building the forms without the sketch lines. Because once the sketch lines are needed, you can get rid of, well, you don't necessarily need to get rid of the layer, but you can turn that layer off and continue. And I really like, the face. And I wish I had done the same colors on the curl and the tail, because because that face definitely has kind of a glow and a ghostly look to it, and my little curl up top doesn't. But that's okay, because I want as much as I would have liked both of them to be the same, everything to be the same on the body. I want the face to be the focus. So with the eyes and the way the color is on the face, I definitely achieved that. But I am conflicted, because it would have been better if I hadn't jumped in to the second color after I laid down that first color. I should have laid it out all over the whole body. And then the second color also. And then I should have went in with the palette knife. Yeah, so the tail's not looking too bad. Okay, so I added some shadow under the chin, again to help define the form. Don't know all the ghost rules. Can a head cast a shadow? Can a ghost cast a shadow? I mean, everything that's on it has shadows. So I guess a ghost can cast a shadow on its own self. Okay, tightening up the ghostly cloak. Could have had the ghostly cloak flowing a little bit better. Looks a little stiff. Yeah, okay, I'm darkening the eyes even more, hoping that will work better. And it doesn't, so I quickly get rid of that. So now I'm trying a little trick. So I made a copy of the eyes, and I made one layer, the bottom layer. I changed the opacity, and then I kept the top layer at 100%, and now I'm adding a little glow in the corner of the eyes. This is not the way light works. This is more of a special effect, not a lighting effect, to help the eyes look a little bit more ghostly and cuter at the same time. So now the eyeballs don't look as flat as they did before, with this little visual effect that I did. And I'm going back and adding more details to the fur. And I'm not going with fur all over the place, just a few places just to add. And I'm still struggling with that inner curve of how the fur should look, and I think I've got it now. It's better than it was before. Okay, now I'm merging all my layers because I am done. This looks pretty good. And now I'm going to start on the background to create my night sky. And actually, this is a custom brush in ArtRage that comes with ArtRage. And I'm using snow, and I'm going to use the ink pen to put some bright highlights so that they look like stars are twinkling, because this night sky has layers of stars. Some are more visible than others. And this is what I'm trying to attempt here. Okay, so I am going to call this finished, and I hope you enjoyed this drawing demo and enjoy the rest of the convention. Bye now.
That's all for today. Please like, share, and comment. I'd definitely like to hear from you. And please subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Remember, just create. Bye.